Hello, ladies and gentlemen, good listeners out there, and welcome to episode
217.
217 of the There's a Large Gaming Podcast. I'm Darby Hallman.
I'm Jeff Mayo.
And I'm glad people can come here for just nice, very smooth introductions to the podcast with no scrambling, no nothing. Yeah, just professionalism. That's what you come here for, ladies and gentlemen.
That's why I come here.
Jeff, how you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. Jeff, out of all the Batman, the actors who have played Batman, who would you most want to play Shadow in the next Sonic movie?
Ooh. Actually, this has been a fun thing. Robert Pattinson.
Okay.
Partly because there's a fun fake interview thing where he said he played Sonic Adventure 2 to get into character.
Oh my god, hell yeah.
It's
All right,
fake. It's fake. But you know,
let's
it's
make
like,
it real. Let's make it
well,
real.
then it's like, okay, actually, Robert Pattinson fits. If like real talk.
You have to have the edginess thing or whatever, but you have to be able to poke fun at it yourself and itself or whatever. It can't just be serious but legit. So,
my two fan casting currently are Robert Pattinson or Keanu Reeves.
Yes,
I will take
Keanu
no
Reeves.
substitutes.
I think Keanu Reeves is like number one.
Yeah,
it's pretty damn good.
Yeah, especially after having to see that. Not having to see it's a good trailer. It was like maybe a fun movie, the Super Pets movie where he's voicing Batman.
Yes,
yeah, that works.
Keanu Reeves is aware of the bit. Like he is aware of how kind of ridiculous he is, and it's wonderful.
He is aware of the effect he has on women
and me. Yeah. I like it. Yeah, Keanu Reeves number one, Robert Pattinson I think close second.
Yeah. Well,
Jack Nicholson.
Well, I guess we'll go ahead and say it here. Look forward to the next podcast where I will probably have a mini spoilercast thing for Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Does it come out this week?
Comes out on Friday.
Nice.
Might have plans, so I may not be able to see it Friday, but I think it also has some Thursday showings, so I might go to those. We'll see. Point is, I should be seeing it before we record next.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Good shit.
Yep.
Well, Jeff, we're here to talk about video games. We have some new video games. Well, one new video game that we've been playing and one older one. But that new one, Jeff, is Kirby The Last of Us. Last of Kirby.
Yes, The Last of Kirby. He is the last Kirby, unless you count Meta Knight.
Oh, is Meta Knight? Is Kirby? Are there other Kirbys? Have there ever been introduced that?
See, I'm not deep on the Kirby lore, which is apparently just insane. But so you have not seen Meta Knight with his mask off? It's Kirby.
Yeah, he's a Kirby.
You know the black Kirby color thing in Smash, where he has like the yellow eyes. I mean, that's Meta Knight.
What he looks
that's
like.
like Meta Knight without the armor on. But Meta Knight has wings for some reason, but yeah.
Interesting. So there are other Kirbys, so there could be a whole nother civilization out there.
Might be. Or they might have gone instinct, I don't know.
Or they probably all killed each other because there's a whole civilization of the Kirbys. They're all basically gods. So
Kirby probably ate them all.
Yeah, probably. He probably
had
all of their powers.
He probably child like and sucked them all in.
Yep. So he just has the power of an entire world that he killed.
Yes.
Kirby is the darkest video game character. Jeff, how is Kirby in the Forgotten Land?
Well, the answer is yes to that, Darby. But Kirby is fucking fantastic. I rolled credits on it the other night. That's the last thing I did. Have not touched the post game, which looks decently meaty.
Yeah.
As well, so need to doing that. All right, let me say, at least for the main game, the last little bit, gee whiz. Not gonna say spoilers, but it go crazy.
Like crazy in just like what you're doing, crazy in difficulty, crazy in what way? Like
what you're doing, like what's actually going on in the story of it all. Actually, as far as difficulty, we can kind of go into, maybe start with that is I'm pleasantly surprised by it. I mean, it's not hard. Yeah. Like, I'm not like dying, but it's at least not completely easy breezy. I can turn my brain off kind of thing.
Right.
I mean, I kind of think of it like 3D World. Like kind of more akin to that. I mean, I'm not dying as much as like platforming stuff or anything, but as far as that,
at least it goes. Yeah, it makes you think enough to be enjoyable. Because that is like part of what, at least like, I think I haven't played many of any of these games, so I've like dabbled in Kirby and Yoshi, and that's always been the kind of issue is like it's at least like 2 steps down from Mario, and at some point it gets to where it's like, yeah, it's cute and charming, but it's just like it's not pushing back enough to keep your attention, you know. But it sounds like this one is
and the levels are creative enough as well, like especially since it being 3D and all that kind of stuff, and stuff going on to where again it not being a hard game, but it's not like as noticeable as other Kirby games. Again, if Kirby games weren't notoriously easy and saying like Yoshi games, wouldn't be bringing this up necessarily, but
sure.
I'm not sure how the easy fair. I don't know how the easy breezy mode is, how easy that is, but I'm playing on the wild mode.
I would imagine it would be, but I think it's a fair thing to bring up, because I mean, obviously for kids you could always recommend Kirby, but I mean, Kirby is always like teetered on the edge of this is a game just for kids or a kids game that adults can enjoy, like most of the games we play or whatever are. So I think it's a fair thing to bring up, because in the past I think that's what's kept a lot of people, including me and you, away from Kirby games, because like you have like some history with Kirby, but it's not like you play like every Kirby game that comes out.
I haven't played it in quite a while. Which is fun they look, but
So looking at it, I mean, so do you think, because looking at what I've seen, it seems like it's closer analogous to like, probably 3D World than like Odyssey. Like it's like more towards
it is level based. You go into the levels, you do that kind of stuff. It's kind of like I mean, you say this for other Mario games, but like 3D World, where there are a set number of collectibles in it and you got to do different tasks to do it. Like the way it's usually set up is there are 3 Waddle Dees at the end. The Waddle Dees are the star equivalent. You always get 3 at the end of the level. But there are also about 3 to 5 hidden Waddle Dees where you gotta try to look for them, maybe do a challenge to reveal them or something like that. And then there are another, I'll say like 4-ish Waddle Dees that you get for doing a certain task. You don't like see them physically in the world, but you get a little thing at the end that says you got this Waddle Dee for like finding 3 donuts or some shit. Not all of it are like that, but some of it's like in boss levels, beat the boss in less than 2 minutes. Beat the boss with this power up. Stuff like that.
Well, it's like these are like living dudes that are like held hostage or whatever, and somehow you got 3 donuts, so he just appears. What happens?
Thanks, Kirby. The smell of donuts led me to you.
But that also makes it really dark when you're like, I don't feel like going back and getting that one. And the dude's like, you're just gonna leave me? That's my brother Jake. What do you mean you don't feel like it?
I really like the Waddle Dees being like the star equivalent, just because they're, like you said, they're living things, so that kind of adds to it. And you always you build a Waddle Dee town, which is fun.
I want to know about that. So like, how did the progression of that feel? How like, I don't know, how would you feel about how that evolved over the game?
I liked it a lot. It's a really cool thing of it just got bigger and more buildings appeared, but not just that. Well, there's naturally buildings and they have little signs that say like this unlocks once you get this many Waddle Dees.
Gotcha.
And stuff like that. But also as I got through the game, like not necessarily just more buildings, but town density. Like there are more Waddle Dees just wandering around, sitting in places, like
that's cool.
Doing whatever. And it's always fun, like because if you remember from the demo, you can use the D-pad for Kirby to emote, and you say like hi, and then when you do it, the Waddle Dee say hi back, and it's just adorable.
Of course, yes.
It's just a jolly little town.
Yes.
And all that.
Yeah, how much time are you spending like in that hub area?
Not a crazy amount. There are mini games and stuff to do, which could get pretty insane. A couple of them, so there's the fishing one that actually thinking about it, I haven't actually tried yet. Then there's the like cafe one when you're working in a cafe and you gotta select the order that the Waddle Dees want to do, and it honestly gets pretty insane in the higher difficulties.
How are you fitting that much food?
Yeah. And stuff like that. The first thing, the Waddle Dees have the priorities in order. The first thing that they immediately built was a movie theater.
They gotta see Morbius.
Yeah, Morbius. Yeah. Which you can use to watch cutscenes and yada yada yada.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. That's cute. Yeah. I mean, I love a good hub.
Yeah.
I love a good hub environment. It's like, even if you don't do shit in it, if it just like looks cool and like grows over time, I love it. Like I love the Starship Observatory or whatever in Mario. Like Peach's Castle.
Now, good hub. Very jolly vibes.
Oh,
jolly vibes all around.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to think.
I guess the mouthful mode power-ups and everything
yeah.
being kind of the gimmick of this game and everything. Are there lots of them where you did you enjoy the things they did with it?
I do enjoy the things they did with them. I will go ahead and say this, just for people who are interested in it. For the most part, the power-ups that they have shown and the mouthful modes they have shown officially are it. I think mouthful modes, they showed them all. They showed them all because they're not, it's one of those things where it's not too many of them, but just the way you use them or whatever, because they're not they're not in every level, obviously. Right. I think I might be wrong on this, but I feel like not all of them are even in every world per se. So like, because the level's just based on those things, or sections of a level based on those things. Yeah. So they don't like wear out their welcome and everything, and you can kind of get excited when you're just like, okay, what do I got to do here? Because especially I mentioned you got to do certain tasks to do find some of the hidden qualities. Odds are one of those will be you got to do something very specific with this power up,
right?
Whether it be with the vending machine, shoot all the things around here, or hit all the goals when you're doing like the flying arc thing. Stuff like that.
Right. Saying the mouthful modes are more for like puzzles, and the power ups are more for like combat.
Yeah,
basically.
Generally, yeah. There's a little I guess you say there are some combat things with them, but you don't necessarily. I'm trying to think. There probably is like an example or two, but you don't need them for the combat. Right. They are fun and different to do.
Right. Yeah.
She needs to soda cans of these giant rabbits.
Was the soda can your favorite mouthful mode?
Car's fun. I like the one where he's just the giant circle one and just pushes air. That's fun.
I was gonna say what people call it on Twitter, but I won't. Yeah, it seems very fun.
And it's just also just as far as like the actual levels and the worlds you go to. Kirby can get crazy, especially like once you get later in the game, post games for the different Kirby games. But it was kind of fun for this. Just seeing it, you started to saying The Last of Kirby. Just seeing it, in these kind of more human environments and that kind of stuff, even if they are no people there.
Definitely not the type of environments you would expect.
You're going to like factories, malls, amusement parks, and that kind of stuff. It's just
Did
fun.
You feel like there was enough variety there within, because it's all in this like kind of rundown city basically, right? Or whatever, but like, did you feel like the environments looked different enough? Did you go to like...
Yeah, you can maybe argue like maybe the ones like the levels with the worlds are different enough for sure. You can maybe argue some of the levels within an individual world may not be different enough for some of them. I can definitely see that, but overall, yeah, because the game's not like overly long, but they did a good job with what they had there or whatever to feel like a full adventure so far.
Nice.
Again, I got more to do. This is one of those games where I got the credits, but I haven't actually beat the game.
That's a big Nintendo thing in general. This is all the Mario. I mean, Kirby, I think, is the closest analogous as Mario. I mean, they're very much like kind of Mario adjacent games, and I would imagine that's probably like it's one of those. The meat of the game is after the credits.
I can kind of see a glance of how much there is. I'm very curious. How. I've seen the levels they I can do, and there are less of them obviously than the main game. But there are different collectibles in there. I won't go into detail. I don't even know because I haven't actually gone into a post game level yet. But I'm like, okay, how's this gonna work? I'm just very curious, and I'm just expecting to go crazy. Let's talk about boss fights.
Yeah, boss fights. Yes,
boss fights are fun. Honestly, the combat for Kirby feels, good for what you would, better than you maybe expect for like a 3D platformer, in my opinion. Like the power-ups feel good, and especially like leveling them up and all that kind of stuff. Because there are probably, let's say about a dozen base power-ups, roughly 10 to 12, I think. And then you can upgrade most of those at least twice.
Okay.
So there's a lot of those, and
so is the upgrade like change what the ability does, or is it just like a stat change or something?
Definitely stat change, and it does change what the ability does. For like, I'll give a couple examples. The sword one, the first upgrade, because normal sword Kirby is kind of like Link, has the green hood, has like a master sword looking thing. Its upgraded form is the gigant sword, where it's a giant sword and when he blocks, he has a giant like impenetrable shield.
Okay.
Not all of them are maybe that extreme, but just give me idea. They could be pretty different. And another example is the ice one. You're just spraying ice or whatever. You're just doing ice breath. It's power up. You spray, and then after a couple seconds, snowmen appear. And you can hit them to make them slide around and hit enemies and stuff.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Cute. I like it.
And they got a lot of crazy stuff in there. And the way you power them up, you got to pay for them. And I'm starting to run out of money, so I need to do a little grind and look at the economy. But you need, what are they called? I don't know. They're like little star gem little things. To do those, you got to go into the challenge rooms. Not the official name, but that's pretty much what they are. And
are they like the 3D World little challenge area things that you do?
Kind of like that. So they're each based off a power up. So when you go in there, you automatically go into the power up or the mouthful mode for it. Or, well, I say mouthful mode. They turn you to regular Kirby, and then immediately you suck up the mouthful mode thing.
Yeah.
And it's a challenge based on that. Some of them are kind of straight up combat, but not too many of them, surprisingly. Some of them are kind of like puzzles and all that kind of stuff. And you have a certain amount of time to do it. And there's a time goal to beat it in. If you beat it, you beat it. Before the time runs out, you get the credit for it and you get the gem. But they have a little goals like beat it in this amount of time, and you get extra coins. And some of them, I'm like, this seems difficult.
How?
Yeah, like the difficulty definitely comes in when you trying to do that. And they showed in the trailer, so I have no problem saying this. Coliseum is also something. I haven't tried the ultimate Coliseum that you get after post game. But based on some of the boss fights, I can see it being maybe kind of challenging.
Yeah.
There definitely sometimes, admittedly, I might have been playing around a little too much or picked not a great power up. But there were some times in the boss fights where it did come down to the wire a little bit. I did die once or twice.
Yeah, I've heard people. I think these are the things that people were talking about. There's like the challenge room things, or where they were like, "Oh yeah, it actually has some teeth." It's like, died a few times.
And I imagine, the post game is going to have some teeth as well. But like I said, I like the boss fights, the characters they have, and they are cool. And I think they did a good job of making them, different enough from them. Obviously the first one, the one we fought in the demo, the gorilla, very basic, but then the other ones have a little more going on and
That's
stuff
cool.
you need to adapt to. And what I really like doing, you can pretty much go into these boss fights with every power up, but before boss fights, they have like a set of typically 4 power ups, like hand selected. And I just make it a point to, okay, I'm going to use one of these.
Okay.
No matter, even if like my favorite may not be there, I'm going to pick one of the ones that the game developers are.
But you can only have one power up at a time. You can't
you
swap.
No,
them,
you
right?
can't swap, but they just have 4 ones. Like,
Right.
hey, you can suck these up real quick if you don't have anything to go in this boss fight with.
Right.
And I just make it a point to select one of those for the fun of
Yeah,
it.
that's cool. That's cool. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, sounds like it was what was advertised, because those trailers looked very, very good.
Yeah, it's a very jolly game and very fun, and I'm glad to see like reception wise, where reviews and everything, it's got really good reviews.
I'm gonna expect this to be like the best-selling Kirby.
It was the fastest selling Kirby, at least in the period we got in Japan already, and I think Europe was similar.
Yeah,
we haven't gotten any stats for America or general yet, but I'm expecting this to be the best-selling Kirby at some point. It's just kind of a weird thing because the best-selling Kirby, the original one, is like about double all the other ones just randomly, so that's just a big difference. I expect it to be the second best-selling instantly.
Yeah,
and I expect it to be the best-selling at some point.
At some point. Do you know how much that first one has sold? Like,
I think it's in the 5 to 6 million range, which is not like
still selling
a crazy. Yeah,
crazy.
In the end, I'm just curious like how fast.
Yeah, I don't
More
think
than
it'll.
anything.
Yeah, I don't think it'll zip up to 5 million instantly, but I can see it definitely getting there eventually.
But it's a very well received 3D platformer on Nintendo system that's selling like crazy. So
Yep. Yep.
And I feel like a lot of people I feel like Kirby the character, because mainly because of Smash, has more fans than the series does in a way.
It's one of
It's one of those. And now that this is they did the 3D thing that people kind of wanted more and more interested in. Yeah, there'll be a lot of people kind of like you. You're gonna play my copy, so you're not gonna buy the
game. But
game.
I was definitely interested in this game anyway.
Yeah, these people playing it, it's like, okay, Kirby's always looked like a cool character, but the games just kind of seems a little too easy.
If this becomes another pillar going for I almost said this for Nintendo, that we'll get more of its core players. It's Mario fans and Zelda fans into. I think that's very good because Kirby is always just, and also Kirby is just one of those like. It's less of a precious baby to Nintendo in the sense that I think they're not afraid to throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks with Kirby. Like they'll do a bunch of spin-off weird things. Like here's this 4-player battle arena Kirby game. Here's this mobile game. Here's this, whereas Mario, I think is way more of a, whenever we put one out, it's going to be polished to a T and it's going to be this specific thing. And like, we don't veer from that very much because of it, like, I think for good and bad, Kirby is just kind of more of a, it can be anything. We're going to toy around with this a lot. But like, I think if they can cement like this style of Kirby game is something that, like I would be interested in. I think that'll be
yeah, that's definitely one thing I thought is like, this is their first, like Hal's first attempt at a 3D Kirby. Is like, man, it's one of those things like, I love this game, but it makes me really look forward to the next one. Assuming I'm going to just assume the next Kirby game is going to be 3D as well.
Yeah, or at least the next main line. They might have some other spin-off.
Yeah. So it gets me excited. Like, okay, yeah. Once they have this under the belt, let's see where they go next.
Hell yeah! No, that's exciting. It's another one of these that almost every Nintendo franchise is having its like peak time in the sun on the Switch. It's like it's having its like, or at least one of its best iterations on the Switch, and it's nice to see that continue to Kirby.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Now give us a 3D Yoshi.
Yeah,
it's Yoshi's time.
And Donkey Kong, why not?
Yeah, well, it's still that rumored game from the Odyssey team, which we should, no matter what it is, we should be hearing about the Odyssey team thing anytime now.
One would think.
But Darby, tell me what you think about Guilty Gear Strive, in particular Testament.
Well, Jeff, they're pretty. And the game's pretty. Everything's pretty. God, this game looks so good. Yeah, I'll get on the presentation side like first, because like Guilty Gear is a game that I really enjoyed when it came out, but I just didn't play a ton of, and I always wanted to. It's kind of my thing with all fighting games. Like even if I really like them, it's just like our friend group's not the biggest fighting game friend group, and it can kind of just like peter off into the background, and I just kind of forget about them, and I'm like, damn it, I'm always saying like I should play more MK or I should play more Guilty Gear. But I think the last like week I probably dove in way more to Guilty Gear than I have in a long time, partially because we just watched, they were like, oh, new Guilty Gear character, Testament, oh, let's go see them. Or I'm like, oh, they look really cool. Yeah. Like design wise, I think they're awesome. Being a non-binary androgynous hot vampire, I'm like, yes, please, thank you. Yeah. So like all those things, all those things, yes. And I'm not afraid to admit that is what got. I was like, man, that design's awesome. But like getting in there, obviously the animations and everything, Guilty Gear is just the GOAT when it comes to these things. Like people have like slowed down a lot of like, even just like the low kick has the craziest, like lifts up their like whatever like trench coat thing, and there's this like it's just crazy. Every other game it would just be stick a leg out. This game, it's this dramatic crazy thing, because I don't know what it is, but Guilty Gear Strive, they just put absurd levels of detail into everything that happens in the game. And like that seems very superficial, but I don't know, it helps make the fights.
No, that's fair, because when you look at people's reception to fighting games, especially the general public, not necessarily the hardcore fighting game community, presentation is just a big part of it. No matter, can't argue against it, because part of the reason Mortal Kombat's so big is because of the presentation and high budget thing. When we look at, and we'll get probably into it later, when you look at platform fighters, Smash is so far away, partly because they have the budget to have this amazing presentation compared to all its other contemporaries.
For sure. And Max has gone over this a bunch of times, where he was saying like, the auto combo thing that a lot of fighting games have done, and some of these other things or whatever to try to bring people in and like max it over and over again. It's like people are going to come because there's a character they think looks cool, or they think the characters seem cool. Hot is a very big part of it. It's like, and I think he's right. There's a very big part of that it's like, yeah, the presentation, it seems superficial, but it is important. And like the characters, just the things you doing in the fighting game, feeling badass and cool, and just feeling like you have power, but also that you've like earned it. You know. All
well, I think look at Arc System Works. One of the other fighting games, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus or whatever. I heard that's a very good fighting game, but I feel like it doesn't catch on because to non-Grand Blue fans, it's like generic fantasy looking fuckers.
You don't have this attachment. Like, you either need the attachment like a Dragon Ball thing or whatever, like you're attached to these characters, or the design of it in general draws you in.
And obviously with Dragon Ball FighterZ, the reason that, was so big is it was Dragon Ball, but they said presentation was insane. Best presentation for a Dragon Ball game.
At the time, I would have said that was the best looking fighting game on the planet. Now we have Guilty Gear Strive, and it's just like, good God. So to actually get into playing Testament and like kind of just getting into Guilty Gear for the kind of really the first real time in general, this is a really, really good game. And it's interesting because the things that you can do, just every character's moveset is really not that big. Like there's not that many moves you have.
I know that was I think maybe that's a big complaint, but something I saw people say it's like, yeah, they really turned down the move list from this game compared to past Guilty Gear games.
And I could totally get, if you're a very big Guilty Gear fan, I can see how that could be a deterrent or something. And I've seen like people like Max like kind of say like, yes, I kind of do think it's in some ways worse because of that, but also it's just a very refined fighting game. So like, and at least for me, as someone who's not a very big fighting game person, I love it because like very quickly, like I'm gonna get into Testament, I understood all their moves pretty quickly. Like all the moves that I'm gonna be using, like overall, I know how to do them. There's not a whole lot of memorization because it's really just a few things, and once you get them, it's like, all right, good. And then, but it by no means is easy because like learning how to piece them together and when to do them is the biggest thing. And I've done a lot of like online matches, and I'm doing the same moves technically over and over again, but I've gotten a lot better at like when to do them and everything. And for a game that has so few moves, a certain player's play style comes out a lot because there are people who are super aggressive, people who are super like passive but will punish you if you do anything. Like every fight feels different, and like when to do what feels very impactful. And the fact that you do so much damage, it's hard to get used to at first because like the matches go real fast because everyone just hits so damn hard, but it makes it such a like strategic, you're thinking about like when you see them low, it's like, okay, I'm gonna defend, I'm just gonna look for my opening. Like you see as soon as one person's at high health and the other one's at low, the person at low usually goes crazy in on them because you can catch up. You can get back, and if you're like one hit away from you're gonna like try to just find a good time to, I don't know, it's like really fun. I'm really enjoying. I think it's probably it's too early to say just with doing all this, but it's probably like the most fun fighting game I've played just because I feel like I understand it a little bit more than other fighting games, at least to just get in on it.
I can understand that because I feel like a reason like I got into fighters more than you guys. Probably. I know I had the Dragon Ball license, but Alex is also a big Dragon Ball fan. So that kind of like you're saying, like Guilty Gear kind of clicked for you, even though I'm not really that good. Dragon Ball's kind of clicked for me, even when I tried to explain stuff and everything. Like it seems like for some reason you guys had trouble kind of grasping stuff, but I was able to kind of really get
for sure,
at least in comparison.
No, for sure. I mean, and I've always thought that with fighting games, it's like. It's always been frustrating to lose in fighting games to me because I just feel like the other person just knows how to do all these things that I just can't. I either don't know how to do or can't get out in the heat of the moment. And it's like, even if it's like, I know what I need to do, but I just can't actually do the damn thing. And that's always so infuriating to me. I mean, that's why like fighting games I'm more mad losing than like Overwatch or any of these others. At least I know what I need to do. I just am not doing it right there. In the fighting game, it's the actual inputs that I can't do.
Well, in Overwatch you can blame other people too, you know.
You can also
it is always their fault.
It is always their fault. And the last piece of this, I'll actually say I've been playing Guilty Gear Strive this time on mouse and keyboard, or not mouse, keyboard.
All mouse.
Yeah, mouse. Yeah.
That's how that works.
Which sounds crazy, but it has helped me tremendously, because I have always struggled with the like quarter circles and all that stuff, because in the heat of the moment, I'll just end up reading an input like up instead of the quarter. I don't know. It just happens all the time. So I'll just be sitting there trying to do something and won't. And then in Guilty Gear, if you like sit there trying to do something 5 times, you're dead. Yeah. So on mouse and keyboard, it was just literally like 2 buttons, boom, boom, click. That's a quarter circle. Boom, boom, click. It's like I don't really mess up my inputs anymore, which is like that has been the thing that has always kept me from fighting games. And like it does feel like some shackles are off finally, and it's like okay, I can actually learn to play the game now. It's very, very much a good feeling when it comes to that, and I'm enjoying it. So I think this is gonna be my fighting game of choice. I've been playing some just matches in the morning. It's like it's quick too, and that's what I like about it. It's
Yes. Well,
good shit.
You doing it on the PC gives me more time to. Yeah, I need to mess around with it more, and you try to use that fight stick.
Yes. Yeah, and they did announce that crossplay is coming. It's not here yet, and I don't think they said exactly when. I think we heard things like it was like by the end of the year, so it could be a while, but it is coming, which is good. And
more characters.
And yeah, if y'all get into it, I'm enjoying it quite a bit. So I just want to. I've always wanted to have at least a fighting game that I kind of play on the side. I'm never going to be a fighting game guy, but I've always want to have. I do enjoy them. So
we're gonna be multiverses people, Darby.
Oh yes, absolutely. Well, Jeff, let's get into some news with a news jingle.
Jingle, 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 Darby. Darby, it finally happened. After years, years, I'd say. Maybe not. It feels like years.
17 years
of speculating and rumors. PlayStation has finally announced their competitor to Xbox Game Pass. I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
PlayStation Plus.
Yeah. New PlayStation Plus.
Oh, please. They should just do the Nintendo, like, new. Just slap new on it.
I mean, they're just calling it all new PlayStation Plus. I think it's just called PlayStation Plus.
It's just PlayStation Plus, and then there's 3 tiered names that we're never going to remember the different names.
Let's just get into what the tiers do and yada, yada, yada. Real quick.
What them tiers do?
First one, PlayStation Plus Essential. I'm not going to read all this shit. It's just putting through PlayStation Plus.
Yeah, no new things. So let's
play online, yada, yada, yada. I don't think the price changes at all. Yeah, remains the same. PlayStation Plus Extra. Provides all the benefits from the Essential tier, adds a catalog of up to 400 of the most enjoyable PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 games. Including blockbuster hits from our PlayStation Studios catalog and third-party partners. And these games will be downloadable to play. I'll just go ahead and mention this now. They mentioned the games that will be part of this at launch will be Death Stranding, God of War, Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, Mortal Kombat 11, because nothing cannot have Mortal Kombat 11.
It's true.
And Return. So people don't know, the Essential one or PlayStation Plus right now is $60 yearly. The Extra is $100 yearly. And $15 a month. PlayStation Plus Premium had all the benefits of the previous tiers. Adds up to 340 additional games, including PlayStation 3 games available via cloud streaming, and a catalog of beloved classic games available in both streaming and download options from the original PlayStation, PlayStation 2, and PSP. And then they go into stuff like cloud, yada, yada, yada. And time-limited game trials will also be offered in this tier, so customers can try select games before they buy. And that's going to be $18 a month or $120 yearly.
Yes.
And that is the main thing. And something important to note is it will not have first-party games day one.
Right. Yeah, so obviously lots to take in. Yeah, I don't know where I feel about it exactly, and I'm also not exactly the target audience because I just don't play enough. I'll even play enough different games like with enough frequency to make Game Pass worth it for me because I've been over that hell. Like I basically had it for a full year and just didn't use it at all. So I'm like, I don't feel like I should be doing this, you know. So I'm not really the target audience, and I don't know. I just Game Pass. I mean, it's partially just because it's already like established in there. It has the first party day ones, which is going to get more relevant in the future than it has been now. But it also has everything on like Xbox and PC and everything. So if I were to ever get one of these, it still wouldn't be this. It would be Game Pass personally. If you only had a PlayStation, then like I don't think like that's what I basically want to get to. I don't think this is like terrible. Like if you just had a PlayStation and that's all you had and that's all you cared to have, I don't think this is like a bad like, you know, I could see there being a justification for getting even the biggest version of this for some people. I just don't see it like being a true competitor to Game Pass.
It's just a weird thing where we need to see the game list. I'm not really sure how many games are in there at the moment. I know it's like a fuck ton. But this just, you know, and this wasn't pretty much said or whatever, but now that it's officially confirmed, you know, you gotta think about it a little differently. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is just a combination of PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now, and just kind of mushing it.
Oh, absolutely.
Together, which, yeah, part of the reason haven't been too interested in PlayStation Now. Game selection, not the craziest. It just has has good games on there, but nothing like too crazy. Like you mentioned, the Xbox Game Pass having first party games day one. I feel like a big reason, like I'm interested in, a lot of people aren't just the first parties, but all the third party / indie games that are also there
for sure.
Day one, like a the Plague Tale sequel is coming out there. As an example, I'm really excited for that. And
we'll have to wait to see. Maybe Sony will start getting more of those, but it's kind of, you can't really jump on it now when you don't know that, you know.
And honestly, something, and this is just a general thing, Nintendo does this too, and it's annoying and stupid, and I hate it. Is on the premium tier, they mention all the old games to get on there. Oh no. Oh yeah. Oh no. What? Okay. Everyone needs to hear what I say. Mm-hmm. I'm very important.
Damn right.
Well, for the old games, it's like, God, why can't you just make these available individually for putting this? I mean, it's smart from a business perspective as far as putting that stuff in the upper tier, because that's stuff what a lot of people will pay for or want to pay for. Yeah, because
the thing they can't get otherwise. You're just holding it hostage.
Yeah.
Which is so annoying because you obviously did the legwork to get it on the system.
Like if they were all cloud thing, I mean, that's be its own kind of annoying, but it's like, okay, that can't, and make more sense in a way. But the fact that we can download them.
Yes, like, they could put it on the store. They absolutely could. They don't want to go through the...
Let us buy Sly Cooper is what I'm saying.
And I bet you Sly Cooper is still going to be a PS3 game because they're just going to have the collection. That's been the problem when I had PlayStation. That's true. I can only play Sly Cooper streaming even though it was PS2 games because it was technically a PS3 game with the collection. Which is that there's just so many, like, they might seem like small annoyances, but there are enough small annoyances to be like, make you not pay for this service or go to Game Pass or something instead. Yeah. And that's part of it, because yes, have those things in the service and be like, and you can advertise all the time. It's like, are you sure you want to pay $10, $20, $30, $40 for this PS2 game when you could just get this subscription service? You can advertise that all you want, but have the option.
Yeah.
What is the point of not having the option? You're getting money either way. That's the dumb thing with like Nintendo. We're gonna drip feed you these games. It's like, just let me give you money.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you? It's like, yeah, PlayStation and Nintendo seem very similar in how they treat their retro games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. We've talked about it before. Microsoft seems to be the best about it, but as far as like their first party stuff, they have the least amount of stuff.
Yeah.
Though that's obviously because of their acquisitions kind of more changing, but yeah.
Yeah. The landscape is changing. Yeah, and I mean, do you have more to say about the old games?
Not particularly.
I'm interested to see what you think about the not having the first party titles on there or whatever. I mean, I think that is one of the signature things that would keep this from like, because you're inevitably going to compare Game Pass and this, and that's going to be the thing that like, it's never going to be on the level of Game Pass because of that. Obviously, as a consumer, I would love it. You'd love to be. I mean, that would make this like, maybe I'll get this just because of that or something. But from Sony's standpoint, if I was advising Sony on a business standpoint, I would probably tell them to not do that, because they probably make a lot of money. That's probably how they make a lot of their money, is off of those big games, because they do sell really well and everything. And they've had more of those than Xbox. And I mean, I think Xbox is taking we're going to lose a bunch of money to gain subscribers to then maybe raise in the future and like sell them other things or whatever. They're because they're a huge ass business. Yeah. They're Microsoft. They can afford to do it more. That's how Netflix has done that. Amazon has done that. So many of these companies will do that. Well, they'll have it at an artificially low rate to where they are straight up losing money, but they're a big enough company that it's okay in the long run for them. Sony does not really have that luxury. Sony is not as big of a company, and they're slowly getting, everything around them is getting balled out by Microsoft. I don't think them just trying to play Microsoft's game is necessarily a smart idea.
No, yeah.
When they know that people are going to buy these first party games anyway.
What I wish they would do, and maybe we get an idea of this about with Returnal on this list.
Right, yeah.
I would love it, and maybe you can come up with a reason that's necessary, like that, a counter reason for this not to be a thing. I kind of wish they at least say, hey, first party titles, they'll be on this like a year after. Something like that. I guess the argument could be, oh, then people would wait. It's like, well, then those people were going to wait anyway until it's dirt ass cheap anyway.
Probably.
If they were going to wait a year.
I don't think they're ever going to come out and straight up say that, partially because of that reason.
And it's part of the annoyance that kind of carries over from their PC thing, where they're very nitpicky, and where it's like, you're obviously interested in doing this. It's kind of like a set thing for it. Like,
oh, I agree. I think it's annoying as hell. I mean, because the PC, it's like, sometimes it's like a year later. Sometimes it's 4 years later. Sometimes it's like,
and it's not enough, or at least frequency, at least for the PC stuff. Like, oh, this will definitely come to PC.
Yeah, sometimes it just doesn't happen. It's
like, why don't we have The Last of Us on PC?
Either one, not even the original one, like the remaster of the original one. Yeah, but we have all the Uncharted games. It's very weird. There's no rhyme or reason. And I kind of expected to be more that way. Like, yeah, Sony is frustrating in a lot of ways, where just Xbox is just so wide open and transparent with everything. And I mean, I am still very much in the camp that I think Sony's games are better than Microsoft's. Like, I think Microsoft is doing a lot of things I like more as a company, but part of why I'm so frustrated with Sony is because I prefer their games, but they are just very kind of stonewally about a lot of these things, which, I don't know. It's a hard thing, because I do kind of feel like part of them needs to be because of how big Microsoft is getting. Like, Sony can't really afford to like lose money on things, especially going forward into this new era of Microsoft. I don't know. I don't know what I would be exactly doing if I was Sony, but I do think you kind of have to lean on the fact that you make a lot of kind of high budget, multi-year project big games like this, and people are buying them en masse. And I understand why Sony doesn't want to just throw that away into a subscription where they're probably going to make less money just because Microsoft's doing it. I understand that might not be the best strategy, which I even said, I think Jim Ryan said, or whoever it was said in here, it's like, we're not guaranteeing, the industry changes a lot. This may happen in the future. So, I mean, we might get to a point where that's just expected. It's expected to have all that in the subscription service. But for right now, I wouldn't expect them to budge much.
Yeah. And like you said, I get it from a business perspective. I just wish, there was just halfway transparent, kind of transparent about when we can expect them. Because, I mean, if they're going to go into this, there's no reason to not expect like all their games to end up here at some point. Yeah. You would say that, but that's not the case with PlayStation now.
No.
So, and again, I think I feel like this is less of making a competitor for at least the way they're presenting this right now, the information we have, the scalps channels, we get a games list and all that and more information, but less of a, here's our kind of competitor to Xbox Game Pass and more, hey, we're just rebranding PlayStation now because that's obviously not doing great.
Yeah.
Because no one gives a shit about it.
And it's weird in the weird way, it makes this like more of a like focused, like casual only almost system thing, because like me and you are way too into this shit and we're way too big of nerds that like even if it was like, yeah, all first party games come a year after, are we gonna wait a year to play God of War? No, we're not. It's like there might be a certain level of PlayStation game that I'd wait for, but like God of War I never would. Whatever Naughty Dog does, I never would. Spider-Man, we wouldn't probably. There's a lot of those that we just
for me it'd be kind of more of the games like I it's about Death Stranding recently, haven't played it yet. That would be like one. Returnal,
Ghost of Tsushima.
Ghost of Tsushima I would try. Horizon.
Yeah.
There's stuff where would be that use for me, and like I'm not planning on getting this service again and what we know about it, because I'm just assuming it's going to be right now the level of PlayStation Now. But if maybe they go a little farther with it, I can see myself dipping into the highest tier like a month at a time to play some of those classic games.
Right.
Is the extent of what I think I might use it for right now.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense. I also just couldn't justify. I can't justify like long term paying for like this and Game Pass. Like I don't think anyone can like really justify that.
No.
Because that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So it's like if you're already entrenched in Game Pass, I feel like there's really not any reason to get this. I'm sure I'll just stay at the essential level, which I don't even know why I do that, because not like we even play anything online.
No. When I saw that, I had that thought. It's like,
what do we play online? We play everything on PC if we play like our online games.
Well, I'm trying to think. Like the one thing I might want to jump on now, like I just been itching to play more Fall Guys. Like I could just do that on PC.
You could, yeah. It's on sale all the time.
Yeah. I was saying the price to buy it would be cheaper than me still doing this.
Yeah. Because I haven't used my PlayStation Plus service, what I'm paying for, and God knows how long.
Yeah, we should probably just cut that off.
Probably, honestly. Yeah. We PC dorks now.
True.
It happened.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
Indeed. Darby, you know what else is interesting? Game delays.
Love them. Can't get enough.
You love to hate them.
I just like seeing people unhappy on the internet, you know? It doesn't matter
I like seeing certain people unhappy on the internet. The sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Darby, I think it was both our most anticipated game.
Correct, yes.
It got delayed out of this year. So, congrats for being both our top anticipated game for next year.
Congratulations, Nintendo.
Unless Final Fantasy VII Remake 2.
Yeah.
I assume that's the case.
Do not take...
Or an Odyssey 2 gets announced, I guess is the best. Okay, but yeah. It got delayed to spring 2023. They had a little video, and it was like, with his new fresh cut. It was like, I'm
looking
sorry.
nice. He's looking nice, yeah.
Yeah, it got delayed, and I am sad.
Yeah, I'm not saying I wasn't. I did it. I did think it was going to come out this year, but I'm also not like flabbergasted to see this. I do think there is definitely. We were talking about this a little bit before the podcast. I think there's a very good chance that something went wrong in development. I'm not saying that this is like some catastrophe that the game got scrapped or something, but like I think something happened because it was. I think this is probably ultimately going to be a good 1.5 to 2 years more than they were probably expecting. You know.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it was just. Yeah, I'm not sure of like timeline. I'm just curious like how much of it might just be COVID, just because again. It sounds like Nintendo in particular, and there's a studio, depending on the studio, got hit harder than a lot of other companies. Like, that's just what it seems like. So I can see Breath of the Wild with everything, especially since it's something that involves multiple studios. Like, Monolith Soft is heavily involved.
Yeah.
Just kind of all that kind of stuff. The work from home stuff just really impacted, like, maybe this game harder than some other ones. Not saying there's some, and then probably just some normal... development stuff like a lot of these games. I think what happened is because a reason like us and a lot of people were expecting this game to come out quicker after Breath of the Wild compared to some other sequels is, they have the engine and everything. We expected the map to be pretty much the same with some little differences and all that kind of stuff, yada, yada, yada. It sounds like they may have gotten more ambitious, potentially, just based on what he said there. Well, also, we know that the sky thing, they showed that, and he mentioned in here, you'll be explore Hyrule, the sky, and beyond. It's
space!
We're
going to the moon!
So, I could see it potentially not being like...
Oh, shit, you go to the moon, you walk around to the other side, that face is there. Oh shit. Oh, it's the Majora's Mask, man.
Let's go. I could see potentially, the popular theory is the Beyond is like underground because we saw them go underground.
Probably is.
And the stuff floating on the sky. There could be 3 maps worth of stuff. Like, I'm not saying there are 3 like the levels of Hyrule in the regular game, but there could be 3-ish maps worth of stuff.
Like an Elden Ring thing.
Pretty much. Which, if they do that and all these different mechanics stuff, plus with COVID, I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and it's video games. Lots of things can happen. I mean, this is kind of the annoyance about video games is it's so non-transparent that this is wild speculation off of nothing because we don't have anything to work with, so it's hard to know. And at this point, I do think in general the video game audience has gotten a lot better about not just losing their shit over game delays. I think we have obviously people still do, but I think a lot of people have gotten to the point where it's like, these things are really freaking hard to make. I just want a good game, and it's like, yes, I'm bummed, but delay it, whatever your reason was. If something went wrong in development, it happens. It's not really any fault of the studio. It's like, it is what it is. I expect Nintendo is like, especially when it comes to Zelda, it's like they want it to be so flippin' polished because that is just the legacy of Nintendo in general, and especially Zelda and Mario and things like that, that there's probably like take Cyberpunk should have been delayed probably a year or something. There's probably a lot of other.
They got that big patch the other day, and I think we mentioned it. There were talks about when the game came out, the developers inside like, that's saying back then when it came out, that was about the time it should have came out.
Yeah,
they were expecting it to come out.
Yep. This is just the type of thing. What I'm getting at is I feel like there's a lot of other studios that would just release a game where Nintendo would be like, no, we have to give it more time because they just want it to be perfect.
Well, and I think what helps as far as Nintendo giving the okay for it, besides that, I think they would probably do that anyway. But I mean, their year is stacked.
Yeah,
the rest of their year is absolutely insane.
It probably works better for them for it to be next year, anyways.
Yeah, because it was going to be around Xenoblade and Pokemon. One of those games is like, you don't want it then, because Zelda would be fine. It would hurt Xenoblade more than anyone. Like, if anyone's going to get hurt by them being kind of close, that would be Xenoblade for sure. Yeah. But you don't want the Pokemon and Zelda game maybe being too close to each other because they're both these big open world games. And Pokemon is going to come out then no matter what. Nintendo has no control over that. Right. So I think that kind of gave them okay. Like, I see people after this, they're like, "Oh, what's the big holiday games?" Like, it's Pokemon. It's Pokemon. Like, why is there even a question?
Make no mistake. If they both came out in the holiday, Pokemon was going to be the big holiday game. I'm sorry. I love Zelda. That Pokemon game was going to be the thing.
Yeah. And even from me, just from me playing game schedule thing, like, makes me okay with it because those games, there are a lot of open world games coming out, big games.
And from Nintendo's perspective, already you could argue that these 2 open world Pokemon games releasing this year are already going to cannibalize each other some. Yeah. So it's like,
yeah. And again, this lineup for Nintendo this year might be one of the best they ever had. It may not hit 2017 levels just because there's no Odyssey or Breath of the Wild level game. Well, it might be Xenoblade for me personally, but overall, you know what I mean. So yeah. But I just thought of a reason potentially why you were mentioning problems. I just remembered, I think it was Damiani from Easy Allies mentioned this, and it's something that makes total sense. the Switch might be the problem.
No, for sure. No, for sure.
Yeah, legitimately, like you're talking about development problems. Potentially, they could be going for crazy stuff and just trying to make it work on the Switch. Because with the stuff they were showing there, like just in the trailers, like, yeah, this is crazy stuff. It's gonna have to run on the Switch.
No,
they made Breath of the Wild run on the Wii U, so I trust these developers to get it done.
That is becoming a constant problem for every game coming to the Switch nowadays. Is like the Switch is already incredibly outdated. I mean, and I just played Breath of the Wild recently. Like I went back into it for a little bit, and it was like, maybe it has many problems, but I had a lot of slowdown. I had a lot of like frame dipping and stuff in the middle of combat. And that's on the old Breath of the Wild. It's like, we need a Switch 2 as much as it pains me to say it. But the Switch is like, so
unfortunately for people, I saw some people Twitter speculating that, this delayed to mark up the Switch 2. It's like, guys,
do not think that is the
case. Don't do that.
Don't get your hopes up for that. Don't get your hopes up for that.
Yeah.
What Nintendo needs to do is put all their games on PC.
Just get one of those emulators, Darby.
I don't want to go to hell, Jeff.
Video games hell.
Yeah. Well, it's gonna be good when it comes.
Yep.
Congratulations to Elden Ring for winning Game of the Year.
Yep.
Probably for nerds at large, but definitely for the Game Awards.
Probably overall one. I was trying to think like what has the best chance of beating Elden Ring for me personally. Xenoblade is the obvious one.
For me, it's God of War. Is the only one.
God of War has a chance, and I think it's a long shot, but just because of what Pokemon means to me. Scarlet Violet has a chance if it does I think it could. For sure.
That's for sure. Yeah, okay. God of War is the only one that has a shot for me, and I don't expect it to do it as crazy as that is.
Yeah,
I would not have said so before a few weeks ago, but Elden Ring's, hey, it's a good game. It's a good video game, guys.
Well, Darby, even though it is delayed, we are probably going to see Breath of the Wild 2 this year, but you know where we will not be seeing it? At E3.
No.
Because it is dead.
It is dead.
Yep. E3 is dead. Summer Game Fest lives. The digital E3 has officially been canceled. I don't think anyone's too surprised by that.
Yeah. I mean, the way they were not exuding optimism.
No. The ESA has announced they are planning to come back in a big way in 2023. Good luck with that. Jeff Keighley has announced Summer Game Fest will happen in June and start with a kickoff show hosted by him. By the man himself. Keighley begins.
I mean, like, it's not surprising because of, like, all the, like, bad news coming from the ESA. But if you think it, like, all together, if you're just looking at it, it's kind of ridiculous that they were not able to piece something together this year. You can't blame COVID really anymore because it's like, even if you weren't going to have a physical showcase because of COVID, you've had a long time to plan a digital thing, like a long time. There's like no reason why you shouldn't have been able to do that. So I think this is the ESA and kind of disarray.
Well, also they got less people last year, and especially now having this in a more normal-ish year of this, and Jeff Keighley steadily like gaining summer, presence. Like, why would they go back? Because I've said it before, like, and the kind of sentiments that apparently I have is like anti-E3 and all that stuff. I want to make it clear to people. I probably enjoy E3 more than most of you. You can ask Darby. I get unreasonably hyped, but I manage my expectations well enough to where I don't get mad, luckily.
The hype without the rage. I mean, he's a model gamer right here. Model gamer.
So it's not that I'm glad E3 necessarily is dead. I just don't think we need the actual E3 name itself.
I agree with you.
I think because I think anyone listening to this would agree. The ones people care about are Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo. They care about little tiny things throughout other press conferences, but those are the three that people really care about. And year after year, are the only one that people don't complain, like over 50% complain about. Even some years, people bitch about those endlessly. Yeah. So as long as we have those, we'll be fine. And I get another reason people would miss E3 is the tightness of it, like how close it is. Now that the E3 physical event is dead, there's no reason for people to do that anymore. You have people saying and talking to developers, and they love the fact that they don't have to be next up to a smaller developers, be up to Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft conference. Like, because all the stuff people are going to be talking about besides a couple of big third-party games, people are happy that they can have like a potential day where it's more focused on them.
Right.
And I know people complain about it being spread out and everything, but overall, it's good for developers and probably better for their sanity.
It is. I definitely, I sympathize with some of those complaints and everything that, like, you were talking about, but I also think you laid out a good way that it's like you don't really have to worry about this as much as you are with, like you said, the ESA's version of the ESA part of it. All they did was just make the price of admission for these developers and everything astronomical. That's literally the only thing they did. Other than that, all I want is just a week or a month where a bunch of cool video game announcements happen. And I think we are still going to get that. You can point towards like that first Summer Game Fest or whatever. Things felt too spread out, and it was like, it did not feel that there was much cohesion, and it definitely like kind of took the oomph out of some of that or whatever. I do think it's gotten better, and I'm optimistic just because like Keighley, I think, is aware of that, and he's saying June. This is when this.
So yeah, a couple things I want to add. For you saying lack of cohesion in 2020, that is absolutely true. Jeff Keighley went and made it himself. That's because he pretty much just made a website to add things to it, and had like, besides a couple things like I think like Crash 4 and Tony Hawk for an example. There's nothing. The vast majority of the things were not related to him whatsoever. He's put their logos on a website. So I think people need to not relate that to him.
That just felt like him putting his foot in the door for the future.
Yes, and that's why, I'm saying he's having more of a presence where he is talking to people, and he's saying, yes, there's going to be stuff in June. Obviously, not everyone's going to play ball. I just say, go ahead, don't expect Sony then.
No.
Because, they seem to be done with that.
They were going to do their own thing.
Which is fine. But he said June, and people were like, oh, June's already, a month's already too long. He said, it's not going to be the full month. It's going to be more condensed than that. We're just saying June as a general thing. And he's hearing the complaints and all that kind of stuff. And he's already talking to various companies and platformers and all that kind of stuff. And, we get through, a big, nice general presentation from Jeff Keighley at the beginning, which will probably take the place of a lot of the third-party conferences, because we may not get a Square one. Who knows? We know we're not getting EA. Like Square and Bandco and other studios that might have had conferences in the past just may not have them.
Yeah, I think a lot of the Keighley hate is kind of unfounded, and don't get me wrong, I don't think it's perfect. I think a good number of Keighley's presentations have been very lackluster to me. I'm not saying that everything is like amazing, but if you didn't have someone kind of coming up here, and he has been for multiple years building up this brand between Game Awards and also having Summer Game Fest in some way, he has been like building that brand so that the very clear impending demise of E3, he was going to be ready for that. And I think without Jeff Keighley, I do think we would be going into the no cohesion, just kind of wild west of things happening all the time, and you wouldn't really have the spirit of E3 encaptured, I don't think, if this had not happened.
I agree. That's one thing I don't get about the complaints. Yes, you can criticize the way Jeff Keighley has maybe done things, or criticize what's going to happen with this to may hope he improves it, but the general sense of it is like, well, it's either this, like you said, this or nothing.
Right, yeah. Right. I think Keighley is the only reason you are still going to have an E3 feeling thing. Yeah.
Also, I do want to throw out, when, say, people complain, I'm not necessarily counting, like, industry folks, because I do get, like, them going to the actual event, whether to do the previews and stuff, which helps their brands and everything, and actually seeing old friends after a long time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I get their sadness a lot more. The people at home, it doesn't matter.
We're just coming in. That's just from a consumer, people who were never going to be there anyway. Standpoint. Yeah, no, there's a lot missing out, and like even when we listen to Easy Allies and everything, and how they are kind of funny, and they were like, oh yeah, I went and saw this game today. I was, don't have anywhere near as much.
No noodles and broth.
No noodles and broth. Yeah. Though I have that stuff, so I'm not saying that there's not something missing out from there. But if we're just talking about the press conferences, which is what most people are talking about or whatever, In general, because Keighley is like wrangling this to some degree, and he has enough clout, and I think that like Microsoft's going to play ball with him, Nintendo's going to play ball with him, people are going to do this. I think come this June, you're going to have a month with a bunch of cool video game announcements. And at the end of the day, isn't that what E3 is, basically? I mean, like, who really gives a shit what it's really called, you know? So, and because they have already built this brand, I don't think that's going to really go away completely. And I think it's going to continue to get better every year. And I think it definitely has a chance to get better than E3 was in general for more people, just because E3 was poorly run.
Yeah.
It was over expensive for these developers. There's just a lot of bad parts of it. And the directions that seemed like they were going in, it's like more celebrities, all this other stuff.
I think that's something that I forgot. Like, when people are saying, like, oh, I won't need to come back, or excited to potentially come out next year. Yeah, their plans were terrible. Not good for anyone.
Yes. I agree. And I think we can both agree, especially if this goes well this year, I think E3 is dead in the water as far as they're still talking about coming back next year.
They might try something.
Yeah, they might try something very small, but it's like I do not think people are going to.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, again, the big boys, which is the one people care about. What reason they have to go there and pay that money?
This is a very, very, very good opportunity for Keighley. I mean, I think Keighley needs to put on a good show this year, and if he does, then I think he kind of has it in the back.
I think as long as like I think at the very least, as long as like, you know, I guess is kind of cohesive and kind of packed within, let's say, like 2 to 3 weeks or something like that. And yeah, his kickoff show is really good. It has something similar to maybe at least Elden Ring-ish level. And Microsoft and Nintendo are part of that. Then it's like, okay, yeah,
I think
he's fine.
He owns Summer and the Game Awards.
Yeah, it's like, I think really enough. Correct me if you remember wrong. I think Nintendo was actually not part of Summer Game Fest last year. I think they were just officially part of E3.
Okay.
But again, as long as they have a direct in June, who cares?
And I mean, but he's had very big. He had Joker and he had Sephiroth. You know, he's had big Nintendo announcements in the past. So it's not like, you know, they have worked with him in the past. So I could see them working with him here.
Yeah.
You know, I hope so. I mean, one way or another, they're going to have it direct around that time. But you know, it's like
Nintendo, and this goes for all these major companies. They're not going to change their marketing plans because E3 canceled their digital event that had nothing going on 2 months before.
We're just not going to announce any games.
Yeah.
Right, they just went to E3 because that's where all the eyes were, and all the eyes are still going to be around June. That's still going to be that's going to be the big video game.
No, that's why E3 was appointed for making June that time. Yeah. But now that that's just so much established, don't need it.
No.
Like, now everyone's... I think we had the same talking point previously when we talked about it. Now everyone's marketing plans are like... June is just a big dot on the calendar as far as their marketing plans.
At most, I think the biggest change is going to be you might have some, like, Nintendo might go a week or two before like Xbox to show or something like that. That might be the biggest change.
I think the most that changes for those two, like those two and some of the other bigger companies in particular, is the exact day that it is shown.
Yeah.
Because like Nintendo, for instance, we talked about how jam-packed the year is. They need to talk about those games at some point.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. So I do not think this is sound the alarm bells. Panic.
Yep,
type thing.
Alrighty. Let me get. All right. Oh, gosh, oh, so I was thinking of directs.
Ooh.
One Piece. Kind of had one.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. All things One Piece. You know, showing some. It really wasn't the best thing ever, but whatever. You know, showed some stuff for the upcoming animated movies. Announced a new cast member.
You did not write a timestamp,
but I did. I definitely did type it. Right there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
New cast member for the live action show. Yada yada yada. But the most important thing, Darby, is I think they closed with it. A new One Piece game called One Piece Odyssey. I was kind of hoping it was going to be a One Piece.
I was about to say, all right, the last one. Last game with the subtitle Odyssey. This far, no further. Okay, ban on this thing. We've done it too much. Okay, sorry.
Sly Cooper Odyssey.
Never mind. Let's go.
As long as we get Sly Cooper.
Whatever. I'll tell you.
I was hoping for an Arc System Work game because I knew a video game was coming here, or at least one, but I gotta figure it wasn't. But that's what I was hoping.
Hey, but what you got?
Yeah.
Still
so here's some
good.
details about it. It's coming in 2022 to PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. It is a turn-based JRPG. Coming in 2022, developed by Ilka, I think pronounce it Ilka, Inc., who did the Pokemon Gen 4 remakes that came out last year, as well as support for work on the Nier games and Dragon Quest XI, which might be very apparent. Ichiro Oda, author of the One Piece manga, designed the characters and monsters. I know that's like a no doubt thing, but like the original characters and monsters he did designs for. That are just for the game. And Motoi Sakuraba, a composer who worked on both Dark Souls and the Tales series, also confirmed to have written the music for Odyssey. So,
some good.
You might have some mixed feelings about. I might have some feeling about this as a whole. So let me just get into my main segment here, where we get into all the nitty gritty for this.
Okay, I was about to say I don't really have mixed feelings, but yeah go for
it. You'll see. Here's the reasons to be optimistic and pessimistic for One Piece Odyssey.
Okay.
I kind of threw this together, so it may not be the most coherent thing, but here we go.
I just want to mention, just like, if you haven't seen the trailer, it straight up looks aggressively like Dragon Quest XI. And that's a compliment.
Well, let's get into
aggressively.
Reason to be optimistic. It is a turn-based JRPG.
Hell yeah.
Because Darby, most of these games, they're action games. Not the best action games, if we're being honest. Pretty basic. I mean, they're fun, like, turn your brain off kind of stuff. Like, well, Muso's the best example of that.
Most of them are Muso, which is a bad type of
well,
game,
they have non-Muso, Muso action games, which they're fun, but nothing too crazy. But the most recent one, World Sea, that came out a couple years ago, I don't know if you don't remember us talking about on the podcast or not.
Yeah, it's like open worldy. Like,
it was an open world One Piece game, and I was kind of optimistic about at the time because you could only play as Luffy. A lot of people hated that, but I was like, okay, this means they can focus on making a good move set or whatever just for Luffy. That did not happen. The game was, I'd never played it, but from everything I've seen and heard, the game was just not good. I think it got like a 60 on Metacritic or some shit.
Bummer.
Yeah. But with this, you can have all the Straw Hats playable. They announced they're all playable, and you can do all the crazy stuff with their move set, but since it's a turn-based game, it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to make it feel good per se. You just got to have the solid mechanics there.
So, yeah, it's definitely easier.
Yeah, and the fact that Ilka Co or whatever the name is, the developers, it makes me feel better about it. I know people have their feelings about the Gen 4 remakes, and I think that's fair. But when you get to the post game of Pokemon, and those battles, they're crazy good.
Good. Nice.
So the fact is, they're making this from scratch, and it makes me feel better about that. And I know people may be like, but what about the rest of the game? I give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt for the game because it was obviously, they didn't have a lot of development time.
I personally, I wouldn't take that into account because I think they had zero authority or input of what that game was going to be. I think they were literally just the people tasked with doing the thing, but they had clearly not much budget, and they literally, it seems like their instructions were make the game, just remake import the game.
Stats and everything were pretty much the same.
So I think they had zero say on what that game was going to be.
That's why I mentioned the post game battles and everything, because those are kind of closer to more like an original thing for them. They had those kind of tough battles, but those were more like, it seemed like more something they would have more input on as developers. So that makes me feel better about it.
I think that game would have been no different if you gave it to like the best Square Enix turn-based Final Fantasy studio, because they just had instructions from Nintendo with no budget. So yeah.
But obviously the main thing is that gives me some hope for this is the fact they were a support studio on Dragon Quest XI. There's a support studio, so we obviously do not know exactly what all that entailed, like as far as their work on it. But the fact that this looks crazy like Dragon Quest, it's like, okay, they seem to be taking some of that and applying it here.
I think 100%.
Yeah, especially with just the art style and stuff. Like, the Akira Toriyama and Oda, like monster designs, once you kind of pair them side by side, honestly, they're very similar-ish. But just, the general art style and the way the models look and everything just scream Dragon Quest XI, which obviously gets me excited. Like, this is just Dragon Quest XI, but One Piece. maybe not as good, maybe not as polished.
All you need to do,
but yeah, that's I'm in.
Yes, no, I think looking at it, I'm like, I like how much it just looks like Dragon Quest, and like the environments look cool, and it's a type of art style that is probably like doesn't cost that much, but it looks really good. You know, it's like that like cel shaded thing or whatever. And I do think I think a lot of One Piece games look bad and weird.
Yep.
And I think the art style does not carry over very well. This is like the only time I've seen a One Piece game where I'm like, I like how the characters look. I think they all look right. You know, I think they look like they should look. You know, to me. Yeah.
Yep. And I am excited. First reason to be pessimistic. It is an anime licensed game published by Bamco, which historically aren't great.
Fair. That's fair.
You have a couple exceptions, like the Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm games. They are Arena Fighters, but they are very good ones overall. Like the single player experience is great in those games. And then there's fighters and stuff like that. So that is some reason to be pessimistic, to worry about like budget and all that kind of stuff going into it and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But going to my second reason to be optimistic, they've been working on it for at least 3 years. Because
at least how many years? Sorry.
Three.
Okay.
Because that message from Oda at the beginning of the trailer mentions, man, I can't believe I've designed these characters over 3 years ago or whatever. And they mentioned like a developer interview thing they showed after the trailer, working on this for at least 3 years, which he mentions, oh yeah, this makes it the most time put into a One Piece game ever. It's like, that makes a lot of sense. And also
maybe not good, but it's like, you know, for the other games.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, I mean, it's one of those things that it is obvious and we all knew it, but it's just one of those things once you hear it out loud, it's like, yeah, that's the case for all these games. And that is part of the problem. But it being 3 years already and then it coming out probably late in the year, it's like, okay, it might be close to 4 years, which is 3 to 4 years, which is pretty normal development time because it's not the highest budget game. It's like, okay, they not have those issues.
I hope so.
Like probably more polished than a lot of them.
I just hope it feels that way the whole way through. I hope it doesn't get to a point where it's like, well, they ran out of budget, so we're just gonna repeat a bunch of stuff. Like it seems like Kakarot kind of did. It seems like Kakarot had a cool idea, but then didn't see it through.
That game was just like overly long, so where they had to pick their stuff.
But it was overly long in a bad way. In a paddedy, like it's just kind of like, you know,
grindy way.
Yeah,
but yeah, I can't remember. I think they might have mentioned like how much time it. I can't remember. Second reason to be pessimistic, they've been working on it for 3 years. The reason what I say by that is because as you notice, my reasons for pessimism are kind of small in comparison. It's the kind of theme for this.
I think that's fair,
Yeah. It's just because of what is actually in the game. Because this was started 3 years ago, some of the developments in the story since then, since the weekly series, does not take place. Like, for example, they've added a member to the Straw Hat crew since then officially. He is nowhere to be found in this game, and no reason to expect him in. He could be a late game addition they added, like just kind of late into the game. He just showed up like, hi. Dragon Quest 11 did something similar. But yeah, not expecting it. Could be DLC. Who knows? But also, that's the main thing. And they just all got some new moves and power ups, which would have been cool for moves in a turn based game. Again, not the biggest thing. It is what it is. I will take the polish and development time over them being up to date for sure. I had this in mind partly because I've seen other fans bring that up. That's kind of like, oh, it's such a missed opportunity not to have blah blah in this game. It's like, this makes for a better game.
It's a bummer, but you know, whatever.
It's a sacrifice you pay for.
I mean, because this is going to be a non-canon side.
Oh yeah, like
make-believe story anyway, right? So
it's post time skip. I won't go into details, obviously, but there is no way in the timeline for this to actually fit because characters are separated and yada yada.
So
yada.
it's like, whatever.
And who's not with them? I don't know. I think the third reason to be optimistic, the monster designs look neat. It looks like this is a game where we see like Marines, which is a common enemy in One Piece, but this seems to be like Dragon Quest, you fighting a lot of monsters. But I think so far the monster designs look pretty cool. And fit in the style and all that. So that'd be cool.
I agree.
pessimism, the character designs. I just can't catch the term, and I just mean like the particular outfits that they have for. This kind of goes into the budget a little bit. In some past One Piece games and in all the movies, they redesign and give new designs to the characters that are just for those movies and games. But for this, they just use their default time skip ones that premiered 10 years ago. And One Piece is actually very good about changing people's outfits every arc.
Nice.
So, yeah. The outfits are just kind of outdated, and that's just a small bummer.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. Another reason for optimism, the music, just having a guy that worked on Tales and Dark Souls. That, and some way in them promoting that, like, that's something you really don't really see in these anime games.
No.
So it's like makes it feel like more budget, like higher budget in a way.
I agree. Yeah, no, I think that's very good. I mean, to me, I shouldn't say that I'm not skeptical at all, because like I think you lay out very good points. So like, the history is very bad, so it's kind of one of those. And until proven otherwise, you should have some level of pessimism. But just looking at it, I was like, I think it visually looks like one of the most striking of these anime games I've had. The fact that it is turn-based seems like it's way more obtainable to reach the good game there within.
And I love me a good turn-based.
Yeah, and just how Dragon Quest XI it looks, but it didn't strike me as budget Dragon Quest XI completely. I mean, it's not going to be as good as Dragon Quest XI, I'm sure, and I'm sure it's gonna have less budget than Dragon Quest XI had. But I mean, when I looked at it when they were walking around the environments, I'm like, I could totally see like at least 8 out of 10 game here at minimum. You know, it's like which. It's great, you know, so it's wonderful. It's like,
I'll take it.
I could absolutely see that. So I'm more optimistic about this than I have any other animation.
Final point for optimism. It is a small thing. At the end of the trailer, I don't know if you remember this, Dora, they showed like in a little office looking area 5 old men.
Yes.
They are called the 5 Elders. They are like the top of the world government in One Piece, which is one of the, I guess, biggest antagonists. They have never appeared in a game. This is supposed to be a non-canon story. I mean, this is a non-canon story, but they are apparently taking a part in this game, which gets me more excited, because it might mean the story kind of has more stuff going on than just a normal, we're on this island and stuff is happening kind of thing. Might feel, again, it's non-canon, so it can only take it so far. I know this, but I don't know. It gets me more excited just having those big characters.
More of a big sweeping story. That's yeah.
It might tie, even if it's nothing, obviously, again, non-canon, it might kind of tie in more to the overarching One Piece story, even just a little bit. Like, kind of more references and that kind of stuff that don't feel like, for some reason, this character's on this island, which I played One Piece game where, for some reason, every past enemy was on the island. It was fun, but...
It'd be like, we're telling a non-canon story, but we're going to actually tell a good... We're going to think about the story and like not just do conveniences and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, those are the reasons I am actually the farther get away from that trailer to be like, I'm very excited and optimistic about.
Coming this year. I didn't even know that. I just assumed it was next year.
Yep. Nice. So that's why I was saying like more okay with Breath of the Wild being like, because the last part of this year is going to be insane for me.
Yep.
Just all this, like we were talking about Pokemon and Xenoblade being these giant open world games, and you add this turn-based RPG on top of that.
I'm hoping for you, Jeff. Yep. I'll be pulling for you hard.
Well, Darby, enough about me. Let's talk. Well, let's get you.
You're in this now too, buddy.
I am, buddy.
And here now too.
Darby, a new Witcher has technically been announced. CD Projekt Red has confirmed it is working on a new Witcher. It will use Unreal Engine 5 instead of their own engine.
Yes.
Good. It will be a new saga, and they show an image for medallion shaped like a lynx. And important because as far as what I've seen, there is no canonical School of the Lynx.
Yeah, obviously I haven't read all the books, but people who have read the book said there's not. So I'm like, okay, cool.
So we don't have much to go on, but we're gonna speculate about shit anyway.
Yeah, absolutely we are. I'll say first off, I'm super duper excited. There's obviously some level of you have to be like a little cautious just because they did not handle Cyberpunk super well. I still think Cyberpunk's a very fun game, and I don't think they're gonna make the same mistake completely twice. It's like we'll see. But like, and they've already made a Witcher game that's one of my favorite games of all time. I'm gonna be excited.
Yes.
Getting that out of the way, I think we're playing a series.
So here's the thing. I see that can be a possibility.
Mhm.
Oh wait. Okay. Witcher 3 spoilers. We're gonna get into it.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
gonna happen. Just use the timestamp if you don't.
Yeah.
Because I mean, yeah, we're really excited, but there's not a whole lot to talk about without just speculating about what the game's gonna be.
So correct me if I'm wrong.
I know that Unreal Engine 5 is awesome. Like, I'm really happy.
Yeah. Isn't one of the endings her turning into a Witcher?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I had to remember that because my ending was she became queen.
Okay. Mine, she became a Witcher.
Yeah. That's why I had to think for a second. Okay.
I mean, either way, they're gonna have to choose one.
But I was wondering if potentially, because they keep on talking about a new era and like mentioning this isn't necessarily Witcher 4. That could just mean you're not playing as Geralt. Could it mean we just are completely separated from the cast characters, and that's why they're going for a brand new school?
But
it could be also what you saying, especially if they go with Ciri turning into a Witcher being the canonical ending.
Yes.
She's starting this school.
That's where my head was going with. This is a school that she started, and like I was just thinking like Ciri's going to be the main character or whatever, and that Geralt is going to be like at most a side character or something that happened. Like Geralt would probably be in there at some point, but I get the feeling that we're not playing as Geralt. This is just kind of where like or the other
that at the very least I agree 100%.
I think that we're not playing as Geralt, which I think we shouldn't, because I think we've gotten a lot of time with Geralt and they have fleshed out that character so much. He's one of my favorite characters in games and just media and fiction in general. But I feel like we've done him. Like I kind of want to get that level of detail into someone else. Like Ciri would.
I feel like it's a weird thing because it depends what you did in the game, but it feels like his story's kind of done. He got the girl, depending on it, got a girl in the end, and he found Ciri, and whatever happened with her happened. Yeah,
and you shaped a lot of his like story and everything. Like, it feels. Obviously, I would still be excited if it came up and it was Geralt, but we are actually at the point now where I'm like, I'm good.
And just all his normal like side cast of characters. It's not like all their stories are kind of done really in one way or another. So you at least need a new supporting cast.
Yes,
I think a good way to do that is to bring up a new playable character.
I agree. Like I think there's a lot of reasons why I think this needs to be kind of a fresh start in a lot of ways. Partially, I mean, Witcher 3 was just such a big sweeping game. I mean, part of it is when I've read the Witcher books, like I read like 4 books, and like almost every area they talked about in the books are areas that you went in Witcher 3, because Witcher 3 is just that freaking huge. So it's like you did a lot. You did a lot of what's even there in the source material as far as like map and areas too. I mean, there are other places, but like at some point like you do need to focus in on something different and kind of like have so I am curious, how different is it going to be? Just completely like this is CD Projekt Red writing their own Witcher world and things like that, or is it gonna be more of a focused story just somewhere else? Like it's probably gonna be some element of both, because even Witcher 3 is CD Projekt Red writing their own Witcher story. They're just using the characters and the map and the environments and the factions of the books, but they are not telling the story of the books. In Witcher 3 they're telling their own story, so it's not like that's something they haven't done before. It just seems like this might be more of a break from, that's interesting. I would just dead set on it being Ciri making this Witcher school. I didn't even think about it being.
Again, the main reason I think that is, them just bring up a whole new school in general, which, if they go with Ciri, is Witcher ending, then that could still fit. But just the way they're talking about, like, this is necessarily Witcher 4 and a new song and stuff, makes me think potentially completely new Witcher.
I could see that too. Yes, for sure.
I think both are plausible. But like I said, I agree that I'll be surprised when playing as Geralt.
Yeah, I would be too. But super excited to see whatever it does. But I mean, it would make sense for Ciri to like make the Witcher school, because like there's so few Witchers left in the world, and to like kind of after care more and everything that happened there, to kind of rise, make a new class of Witchers or whatever. But it could be both. It could be Ciri makes this Witcher school and we're playing as one of her pupils. It could be
true.
It could be one of those type of things.
Yeah, that's gotta be an interesting thing. Like, depending if it is like connected to, let's say, either you say series playable, or you're playing as one of series pupils or something akin to that. Like, okay, the thing that kind of sucks about those decisions, like if you get sequel, okay, yeah, you got to pick canonical endings here. Yeah, whether it be this series coming Witcher, is she a queen? Potentially, who did Geralt get with?
I'm sure that's not. They're gonna purposely make that not matter because like, you know, at some point you don't want to choose everything.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is not the first time this has happened in games. You know, there's been many other games where they've had to choose a canonical ending based off of one. So like, it could happen. Or maybe she becomes queen. She hates it, so she gets it. Yeah, I could see all these things happening. I also don't think we're seeing this game for a long time. So
yeah, it's pretty. I mean, I think they said pretty much it's very, very, very early on. So see you in 2030.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about games that we should be getting sooner than Witcher 4.
Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah. Rise of the Lynx. Let's talk about the Rivals Direct, Darby. People who don't know, the Rivals Direct is a direct style presentation based around the Rivals of the Aether franchise, which is a platform fighter like Smash.
Good history lesson.
Yep. It's a pretty fun presentation because they brought back a Nintendo Direct favorite, puppets.
Hey.
They just kind of had them like they're running the show, and the human guy was like, "Okay, guys, you know, no shenanigans, get to work," and naturally shenanigans ensues.
Of course.
Yeah. And them fighting each other and yada yada yada. But let's get to the big news. Biggest news, obviously, what they closed with. Rivals 2 was announced.
Hell yeah.
It's coming in 2024. And we got a trailer, Darby.
We did. I think it looks good.
Yep. People who don't know, Rivals Aether was like pixel art, and now this is like full 3D models and that kind of stuff. And so far, animation and all that stuff look excellent.
Yeah, I think this is arguably looks like maybe the best looking, just from animation wise, 3D fighter outside of Smash. I mean, even Multiverse, I think, is probably the one below that, I would say, just from... I'm not saying anything else about the quality of the game. I'm just saying when you look at the animation, I think it's the closest to Smash I've seen one of these look at first glance. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Oh, yeah. Like, it looks crazy. And it's one of the things where it looks like, man, this looks pretty good now. Why is it 2024? But it looked like... Well, they only showed us 3 characters, so it's like... And this is a very small team.
I don't question that at all. I mean, this looks very ambitious. I mean, like that. If anything, I'm like, sure. You know, it's
So yeah, some people said that it's taking longer, but like you said, it looks crazy ambitious. They are a small ass team, so I think it makes sense that they're going for this level of detail.
No, I'm surprised that it looks that good. I mean, that's part of the thing is most of these platform fighters like this can't look that good because of the how small the team is, how small the budget is, or whatever. I mean, this is like they're swinging, they're taking a swing. I think. I mean, this is they're. I would imagine they're really hoping that this is like a big takeoff.
Yeah, I think Rivals has done surprisingly well for them. Obviously, I think that it doing potentially as well as it has is the reason they're able to take their time and make this. Yeah. And I know they're hoping that this kind of takes it off to the next level. I think I saw in one of the Q&A things, they're like, yeah, if this is an Evo at Evo in 2025, we failed.
Yeah. I mean, you can't tell that much from just like this tiny trailer, but I mean, it has the superficial thing that I feel like a lot. I mean, but it's important to me too that just a lot of these games just. Even Nickelodeon, I look at it, it just kind of looks like in a lot of ways, and like that does like Smash just is so pristine and beautiful and everything, and that is a part of it or whatever. And I think this definitely has that it factor with it.
Yeah,
and to make it like a lot of even the 2D, like the sprite based ones, just feel kind of like clunky for lack of a better word or whatever, but like. This just looks very smooth.
Yes. I think some important things that they added in that I saw some Rival fans were upset about, but might be good for the general Smash public. Some of the things I'm going to tell you that they added, you're probably going to be like, that was not in the original game, so let's get to it. They added shields.
Okay. Yeah.
They added grabs.
That's rough.
Yeah.
That's rough.
They mentioned they added grabs because they added shields. It's like... You need something to get him out of the shield. They also add ledge grabbing, which was not in the original.
Holy shit!
Which did make Rivals very different because the way you think about it has to be. So different.
You have to land like full feet on the platform or you die. Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. It was like a whole different headspace when I played. It's like, yeah, you got to really rethink things. So, and there are other different mechanics, but those are kind of main things that they added. They feel like, okay, this will just add to the game, just add to complexity and that kind of stuff. And partly it's like, okay, this will help us gain a new audience because there is part of that Smash fan base. It's like, oh, you don't have this thing that Smash has.
I mean, I hate to say it, but I'm kind of that way. I don't say it like that. I don't say it that overtly. I don't think about it that way. But I mean, there are a lot of things that, to a degree, it just needs to be fun on its own. I mean, it's not that.
I'm not saying you. I'm not saying you need to be happy.
But that is the type of thing that would just be annoying to me, and it would probably like push me away if it's. It's like
I'm aware of people that just brushed up PlayStation All-Stars for being slightly different.
That's more than anything. Like I'll judge every game individually.
Yeah, and that is fair, but. I'm very excited for this. I think they're saying all the right things right now. I think game looks crazy. I'm excited to see more because I think anyway, like, they're different like variations of the platform fighters. Where obviously they're Smash, so the other ones that have tried to do the platform fighters with the mascots in it, and then the ones that do the original characters. I think they all have fun things in them, but I think it's for especially the ones with the original characters have the highest mountain to climb. For sure.
Oh yeah.
Because people have the mindset for these platform fighters, it needs to be characters I know and love. Yeah. Whether fairly or unfairly. For sure. I feel like Rivals is the best one of those. At least the other ones I play. Probably the main the gameplay mechanics. I think they do very interesting stuff with the characters. And I think that kind of even shows somewhat in this little minute and a half trailer. And I feel like their character designs are pretty strong overall too. Like they have their gimmicks with the 4 elements and stuff, but I think they do cool stuff with them where the characters do stand out.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Excited for it.
Me too. Yeah, it was a very good first step. Very good first showing.
Well, Darby, we got another platform fighter that was shown here that we were going to be playing much sooner than Rivals 2.
Yes,
and that is Fraymakers. Got
August early access, right? So very soon.
Yes, and I backed it, so I already going to get access to that. But yes, the reason I'm partly bringing it up, main reason I'm bringing it up here is probably get your impressions of it because you've watched that initial trailer. We talked about it way back then, since I backed and everything and yada yada yada. But this new trailer where it showed that Crag from Rise of the Aether, they had a little poll who was going to get in as an assist character, and he won it. So they did partly to announce that. But I think they did. I think this is a good trailer, kind of like in a way to reintroduce Fraymakers.
Yeah,
to the people who haven't seen in a while. It's like, hey, here's what it looks like now and everything. Polished and and this is what all the content that's going to be the game looking like right now, based on like the Kickstarter and all that.
All right.
So what do you think of it, Darby?
I think it looks very good. I think it looks like it has a lot of heart. I like the character choices. I like how it looks like they have a lot of different moves and everything. It does strike me as the type of game that I think I'm probably going to appreciate that it exists more than I play. Not that like it's probably gonna be a game that I play whenever we bust it out for a multiplayer thing or whatever like that. But it's like, and it's hard for me to even put a finger on exactly what it is, and like I feel bad about slightly how I feel about it, but there's like some element of like kind of those more 2D fighter things like that just don't appeal to me as much. Like even Multiverses I think appeals to me more than this one does. It partially just on service level, but like when I just see the people fighting in it or whatever, it's just, it looks really good, but it just doesn't. There's something about the combat, the way that like the characters animate and everything that like give me some pause just from games I've played before. I mean, like partially like Slap City, I really don't like how it feels. Like just a lot of those like indie 2D fighters are kind of hit or miss for me in some ways. Again, I don't even know what exactly makes me feel that way. I don't have a thing to point to. I just know that when I look at it, I'm like, it looks cool, but I don't know if it's something I'm going to enjoy the feel of.
Gotcha.
But I feel dumb because I can't really give you that reason why. But it's just.
I'll say as far as like these go, I feel like as far as like the actual look of it goes, I think this is the best looking like indie, or from an indie studio platform, partly because I think the sprite work in animation is just beautiful. Like it's from the Smash Flash team, which did a good job. But I think this is a step farther. Like I think all the characters like really good. Like they look like they're from their game, and it's like the closest thing to kind of the crossover thing, like kind of Smash in a way, where it's like it is a cohesive art style here, but the characters kind of look like they're from their game. Like I feel like that's arguably something like, I like Nickelodeon All-Stars and I like PlayStation All-Stars, but Smash obviously did a much better job of that than those two. And I feel like it obviously this has a much smaller roster and everything, but I feel like so far Framemakers has, besides Smash, done the best job.
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, even Multiverse is kind of a different mindset where like it has to somewhat drastically change. Like it has to make a cartoon version of Arya and things like that. Smash never really feels like it does that. It feels like everyone looks like they fit right in the game, but they also, like you said, like it doesn't look like
they're from their game.
Yeah, this is like a cutesy version of this character. It's like no, that looks like the Fire Emblem. Okay, it looks like whatever character. It's like so I agree that it definitely has that where it's like and it's just like I just need to get my hands on it. I just don't like.
Well, luckily you will.
Yeah, I will. I love in Smash how like. Again, it's so hard to describe, but like whenever I punch and do things, it just feels like there's a fluid motion to everything I'm doing. And some of these, and I felt this way about the original Rivals of Aether, which it looks better in the second one. So many of them feel like stunted. It's like punch. It just looks like very like kind of stilted. Nintendo and Nickelodeon All Stars felt a lot like that, where it was like. It almost feels like there's a delay in your actions, or it's like how this is going to go before it even ends, because it's just like it just feels like things are kind of like action, whereas Smash it just feels more chaotic in some ways, but like it just seems more fluid, and like this is giving me more vibes of the former than the latter.
I'm gonna throw this out there, Darby. I think this might be like. I get what you're saying, and I understand like you having trouble describing it. Yeah. But I feel like this might be part of like this. What I'm going to say is a broad thing, but it feels like this is just kind of where you fall typically. Because this is the way a lot of the indie Smash platform fighters come like from like Nick All Star, Slap City, Rivals of Aether, Framemakers. They have a more competitive mindset.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, and it sounds like whether that's necessarily the reason or not, for whatever reason, you seem to gravitate particularly towards the ones that are less competitive, like my insights, like Smash, PlayStation All Stars, Multiverses.
I think that's fair. That's probably a better way of describing it.
Yeah, and yeah. And I feel like, it might, I think it's partly because of budget, but I feel like because of the difference mindset of it, that might be why. And I don't even have a reason to describe. Like I kind of get what you're saying, but I know you're having trouble describing it, and I have trouble putting into words. Like the way the animation is, it just it makes kind of more sense in the competitive thing, like what they're going for with these indie fighters, whether it visually might not look as pleasing or not, like compared to these other ones, which go in for a more casual audience in general.
Yeah, and I guess it's something I don't know enough of. I don't know as much about this stuff as everyone else. Like I know that people talk about like Melee is like way more competitive scene focus and everything, and like I don't really like the way Melee feels out of the other ones. And then everyone said like Nick feels like Melee, and I'm like, yep, it does. I don't like it. So there is kind of a common ground between a lot of those, and like I guess it is. I feel checkmated more in those than I do in Smash. In Smash, I feel like I can get my way out of situations, or it's just I feel more in tune with the character. I feel like when I want to do something, I can do the thing in Smash. Whereas Smash after Melee, but like Nintendo and like Nickelodeon, some of these other ones, I feel like it's more of like, I guess I die. I don't know why I died, or like like the decision I made 3 seconds ago killed me. Or it's like I just feel like I have more control in Smash.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense.
I gotcha. I feel like I get what Nick All Star is like. in particular, like maybe in like comparison to even some of the other indie ones, point of criticism is sometimes the arena box doesn't feel like cohesive. I guess can feel a little random.
Definitely weird in Nickelodeon.
Doesn't like you were saying, like I didn't feel like I should have died there, like just because of the momentum or something, or I feel like I didn't go far enough. I feel that more in Nick than definitely Smash and some of the other ones I played.
Yeah. And part of it is just the muscle memory of Smash. I've just put so many hundreds of hours of Smash. I understand that game. I just like completely understand it. But that being said, Multiverses, it like immediately clicked with me. Like, immediately clicked. Like a lot of the
Darby revealing we have played the game.
In my dreams.
Fuck it, we have those minutes. Yes, we have played the game. Yes, we love it.
Whatever, it's great. Or like whatever. Yeah. So the I don't know. So it's hard for me to pin down. I just know that some of these click with me immediately and some of these don't. And I'm not being fair to this game because I haven't actually played the damn game, Frame Makers. So I need to actually play it before I can really come down on it. But I do think it was visually very cool.
Yeah. I'm excited to see like how assist and all play in it. I think that might be something that may not necessarily for you, but maybe in general, just kind of give it more of that slight casual feel, like we met, compared to some of the other like indie platform fighters we mentioned. Just kind of give that little more sense of chaos.
Yeah. And roster wise, they have that, and I'm obviously if I end up liking this game, they have a big giant endless list of indie characters that would be awesome to be added in there. So they have that. I feel like all these games need that element of you being excited about the post-launch characters, and they definitely have a big pool of characters I'd be excited to see like who are they going to choose?
I think the roster they have right now is very good and inspired.
Yeah.
All right, Darby, let's close this out with some other news.
Other news.
Darby, I hear you like that company Meta.
Me and old Zuck, we best
Zuckster.
Zuckster, as I call him.
Yep. We're having a Meta Quest showcase and announced for April 20th.
Feels weird to say, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it has a weird.
I feel like Quest showcase. God damn it.
I think your product says Oculus on it, right?
It does.
It has the word Oculus on it.
Yes.
So,
yeah, we're getting a showcase for that. I'm excited for it. Love some VR. I have not been putting much time into my VR headsets as I would like. Moss is out, so I'll help you do that. I need to get back to Alex. And
I was about to say, did you ever play much Alex?
Played some. I need to get back to it. Unfortunately, my room's normally a mess, so that deters me. So I need to get better with that.
Go out in the den and let me make fun of you while you.
But it's on my PC.
Oh, right. Correct.
That is the issue. And I want to play RE4, but RE4 is part of the reason I'm excited for this, because they announced that last time they did this, and it came out pretty close. And they also announced, I don't know if you remember, I think it was San Andreas VR.
Oh, right.
Might get updated that, and if they nail that, I'm very excited for that. This sounds like dumb fun.
That's wild, yeah.
Yeah, and just they're obviously still going very hard in this, so I'm just curious like what other stuff they have with that. Yeah, obviously we will talk about that after it happens.
Happy 420.
Yeah, happy 420. Will that make the next pod? Nope, it'd be the podcast after. Okay. Look forward to that in a month. PlayStation acquires J. Raymond Studio Haven.
Very interesting to acquire the studio before they've done anything.
So here's the thing that is important to point out. They said immediately that PlayStation put some investment / funding into Haven. Right. I think the obvious thing that happened here is they just wanted to see what the game was going to look like, and they had an agreement that if Sony liked it enough, they just buy them.
Yeah, that was probably the plan all along.
They announced their studio a year ago
to be acquired. I mean, it's like semi.
This is obviously the plan all along.
This is like semi PlayStation making a new studio,
pretty much
in a way. Like they just had a way out if it was like,
pretty much, yeah. And yeah, I'm sure Jade Raymond probably agreed to it because she's well competent enough in her game. Like, I wanted to actually release a game.
I know. Yeah, it just like
I want to win for her. And well, the fact that actually, she was part of Meta. Wait, no, Google. Yeah. She was actually working. I don't know. Best of luck to her. I think it's a multiplayer game, so odds are me and you are not going to be interested, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
chance,
Yeah. But I hope the best.
I have to get on my PlayStation.
Might have to resubscribe to PlayStation Plus.
I hope I don't like it. Jeez.
Yeah. Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League has been delayed to spring 2023, which putting it close to Breath of the Wild 2.
That's about when I thought it would be coming out anyway. So it's like,
that became very obvious once Gotham Knights got put in because last podcast we talked about real quick Gotham Knights getting an October release date. So it's like, okay, Suicide Squad's definitely gonna be pushed, but I'm excited for it. We're talking about Breath of the Wild 2 in a game that's been a long time coming. Jesus, we 7 years since the last Rocksteady game. I'm ready.
Yeah, I remember that time period where every E3 and Game Awards was like, well, they gotta be here, right?
They just gotta be.
Gotta be.
Yeah, excited for the game. I like what they've shown. Fortnite has added a no build mode.
They have, and I've played. Have you played it?
I am not.
Okay, I played it for like one night, I think. And it's fun. It's definitely a lot of fun. I'm hoping and assuming that it's going to become a permanent mode.
So unless I'm mistaken, the time that it was the only mode has ended.
Oh, okay.
But then I think I'm like 99% positive they just added its own mode.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was the plan all along, unless it was universally hated.
Yes. Yeah. I think they even said it was like this was kind of a test. For it a little bit. It is one of those things like this is not like I was already enjoying Fortnite a lot already. This is not one of those things that I think some people make it out to be there. It's like, we can play Fortnite now, or this is the best way to play Fortnite. I still think the best way to play Fortnite is with the builds. I think that is what gives Fortnite a unique quality overall.
It definitely did in the beginning. And it's still a big part of it. But man, Fortnite's added so much shit since the beginning. Like where all these people are like, I can play Fortnite now. It's good to get back into Fortnite. It's like, guys, they've added so much that you would probably like it now anyway.
I agree. Yeah, I mean
I can get like in the argument and like when Fortnite first really started, with its battle royale, like take away the building and it's just a pretty generic ho-hum shooter.
Right.
But
that's
now
not the case anymore.
Now they added so many like they added parkour. They added like sliding down hills. I mean, and those are just small things. They added all these crazy weapons and these
tanks. The last time
well, and they added all these gimmicks like the Spider-Man gloves, like it in between seasons. Like it's far more than the building at this point, regardless.
For sure. And I think the game is better to have this mode because every now and then it is fun. And it definitely it wasn't just like, okay, building's gone. It like changed the way you played a lot of things. Like when you got to those last encounters, like running from cover to cover was a lot more dangerous when you can't just throw a barrier up or something. So like you definitely ended up playing things differently, using the environment around you more. And it's just different. Like I wouldn't say it's like better or worse aggressively. It's just a different type of feeling, which is cool.
Fortnite as a game is better for just having this option in it.
I agree. And it's gonna be. I'm sure that's what we're gonna. We're still probably gonna primarily play builds, but like alternate. It's just is a cool.
You're like, guys, I feel like it being a little less stress. I don't feel like seeing Eiffel Towers tonight. Let's go.
I totally get that. There's gonna be times where I'm like, all right, especially we're gonna get to some point where we get to a final battle and someone just builds and goes crazy. It's like, you know what, fuck this. And they also added really cool like guns that have like heat-seeking scopes that are. Especially with the no building is really good. Cause if you're up on a hill and you see people could the heat see, it's like, oh, I got you.
And finally, on some good news, Capcom is raising average employee salary by 30%.
Pay your employees.
Yeah. Pay your employees.
Always feels good.
Yep.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening to the Nerds of Large Gaming Podcast. We will be back in 2 weeks to talk about all kinds of
Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Hedgehog 2 for 4 hours straight. Longer than the runtime of the movie.
Let's go.
All right. Peace.
Bye.